Got your diesel running. Head out on the highway, missing all the roadkill. Another Truckie Tuesday. Indicate when you're changing from lanes. Do not brake check me in my prime. Australia moves and it's thanks to you guys. Trucks to get there on time. Listen to the air horns. Dip your lights from high beam. HPL that help you. Thanks to Rock and a Food. On the highway driving all day. And at night when the traffic's slow. Getting goods from state across lines. We're ready to go. Without trucks, Australia stops. They're driving around the clock. Never, never giving up. Drive safe tonight. Drive left-hand side.
Rod Hannafy, g'day and welcome to another Bonafide podcast, another exciting Truckie Tuesday. How's your week been?
Mate, not too bad, not too bad. Been a bit of an unusual week. I've been incommunicado. The big blue truck's in for a repair. There was a water leak that's got to be fixed, and we had some trouble with the ECM pins, the electronic control management plug. None in Australia. Got to get one from India. And that seems to have been the reason that I had to leave it running when we were talking last week. Got it home and it wouldn't start after I finished loading. So I've been in a different truck.
And the Truckie Tuesday segment would not be possible without our sponsor, ICEPACK, the original Aussie sleeper cab aircon, trusted for over 30 years and the toughest there is. For a limited time in Brisbane, if you're a Brizzy trucker, you're going to get 10% off a new install. Plus a free auto start kit. Rod, this is worth $680. But you've got to use the code Luke10, Luke10, and there is one per customer. So hit up icepack.com.au or check the link in the description. And Rod, we love them.
They've been involved in the industry for a long time. They've been supporters of mine, mate, and they're a terrific bunch of people.
They are. So, Truckie Tuesday, let's get into it.
Luke, I did get a message from a driver. He says, "G'day, Rod. Some time ago on Bonafide, you were talking about your green reflectors and how your reward was hearing that even just one person expressing their appreciation for them. This bloke was travelling on the highway very late one night between Inglewood and Warwick from memory. He was desperate. His eyes were seeing two different highways and he could feel his body shutting down as he hadn't seen anywhere to pull over for a quick nap for some time. Suddenly I caught sight of 3 green reflectors, then 2, then 1. I was on that dirt patch with just enough time to hit the maxis before my eyes slammed shut. Didn't even get to shut the engine down. He was that tired. Truly believe that I saved his life that night. And if you don't know every inch of every road and you're buggered, well, then you're in trouble." So from himself and his beautiful family, thank you. So that was really nice. I did ask, could I use the story? And I certainly will. It's something where, geez, 26 years now, Luke, that I've been pushing it, and getting the authorities to do anything has been really hard. I know people are cynical in our industry because we've had the Midnight Oil inquiry and we've had this inquiry and we've had that inquiry. We spoke last week, of course, about Razorback. I did chase up on the books. My understanding is that the last reprint is just about all gone, mate, so I don't know whether they're going to reprint. I'm sort of waiting to hear back on that.
Oh, good.
But, yes, it's something where blokes say, A, why do you bother? Nothing will change, and I get that pretty regularly. Others say, I don't know how you do it because it's a demanding job. I must admit I've seen a bloke on the internet called Crazy Wally now. He's an American truck driver. And he's got a few American trucking songs and, you know, the sentiment of what it's like to do the job. And it's like anything, Luke. People that do the job have an understanding. People that we try and educate, whether they work for the government, whether they work for the NHVR or anybody else, unless you do it, they don't really care. And I know that sounds flippant, but Jesus, that's certainly how we feel out in the road most of the time. And unless you can educate them, if you can get them to come and do a trip in a truck, as I've done over the years, and I must admit I haven't done as much of it as I should lately, but there's a whole new ranch of people out there. And I was only talking to another mate the other day, and he said he'd been dealing with this bloke in one of the road authorities for many years. He'd had success. He'd had a few things fixed. And, of course, he rings back and that bloke's gone, and you virtually have to start anew. You have to educate them and make them understand the need for rest areas, all of those things. So I understand drivers being cynical. I really do. But if nobody does anything, and I'm sure you've heard it, Luke, everybody wanted somebody to do anything but nobody do it, so nothing got done, then things won't change. And look, through the podcast, we have the option and we get to a lot of people outside of the industry. I write for Owner Driver. I carry that magazine. I give it to some of our customers, and a lot of them say, oh, I haven't seen this before, or how's that work? I even had a mate the other day that makes sausages, was going to look at putting an ad in there. He makes Keppel sausages. So, Tony, I hope that goes well for you. We can get some more into the Roadhouses. But if we don't get to people outside the industry, and that's the one thing you've always given me the chance to do, mate, through the radio and now through the podcast, we hope that we can make people understand a little bit, have a little bit of empathy. And, of course, the outline that we want, Luke, is we want people to get home safe, because we've discussed, 2 weeks ago, people make mistakes, but then people do stupid things, and that's when people get killed.
Exactly. Very, very good. Rod Hannafy is with us, the Road Warrior, Truckie Tuesday. And once again, thanks to our brand new sponsors, they are the best. ICEPACK, the toughest there is. Now, we got an email from Andrew. He says, hi, fellas. What is your opinion on the road laws making road service vehicles, RAA vehicles, with flashing lights be treated the same as red and blue light vehicles on the roads? For example, passing vehicles must slow to 25 kilometres an hour. It's causing so many dramas, confusing and near misses, and I fear it's going to result in many crashes, injuries, and even deaths. I understand these service workers need a safe place to work, but this could add more danger with someone locking up a truck or a car and running through the work area. Thank you so much, Andrew. I get a lot of tow truck, or we used to get a lot of tow truck drivers wanting the same thing when they're on a highway, a freeway, somewhere dangerous, and they're rescuing someone's vehicle. They would like to have the same laws as the red and blue flashing lights. Rod?
And they do now. The issue he's talking about there, though, is specific to South Australia. Now, The other states have brought in similar laws, but theirs is a requirement. Now, initially in New South Wales, it was that you slowed to 40. And exactly the scenario he describes was happening. You'd come around the corner, the vehicle in front was all of a sudden doing 40 kilometres an hour and you had nowhere to go. And they changed the law in New South Wales that if you were in a speed zone above 80 kilometres an hour, you had to slow to a safe speed and or move over. Now, in America, the law is that where there are road workers, you must slow and or change lanes. Now, Luke, the other day I was driving down the highway. There was a vehicle on the side of the road. This is just a vehicle at all, not a service vehicle. And most trucks in the past, if you've got traffic behind you, you're on a two-lane road even, we put the indicator on and I move over and I straddle the centre line until I go past that vehicle, because you don't want to move over into the right lane and then have somebody come through between you and the vehicle that you're just providing a safe corridor for. Many, many years ago, I rang a radio station, and the police, if they pull you up, the car that they have pulled up behind hopefully is off the road, and we've discussed that, mate. If you're in a car, for goodness sake, don't expect that little white line, the fog line, to act as a 6-foot wide brick wall. You're not safe behind it. And so many just park there and leave their cars, or they leave high beam on. So we've got to educate them about that. But if they park close to it, the police car parks proud. He actually sticks his car out on the highway. Now, that's to protect the officer when he goes to talk to the car driver. The problem is, if he's parked half out on the highway and there's only one lane and someone coming the other way, that was the first problem that we had. I spoke to the police. I've said, surely you can get the car to move over for your own safety. The thing is that they brought in that law where you had to slow to 40. It created some accidents. South Australia has always had a law, different to every other state in Australia, that means you must slow to 25 kilometres an hour. Initially, it was about red and blues, whether it was police or magenta for the road authorities. And it has created accidents. Mate, you've only got to look on YouTube or TikTok and places like that. And I was actually pulled up on the side of the road, was getting a logbook checked by a lady police officer. I had a sign that was flapping or something. She pulled me over to check me. And whilst we were there on the side of the road, and I'm well off the highway, and I'm in at least a metre off the road, so she was safe too. She was well off the road, so I'm in a truck. She's pulled up behind me. But there were three instances in the time she'd never seen an electronic work diary, so this a little while ago. Oh, we're discussing that. And while we're there in that 5 to 7 minutes on the side of the road, there were three times in just that period where one vehicle would slow and another vehicle hadn't seen the brake lights, or the vehicle had slowed just by lifting their foot off, and all of a sudden they've come up on the back and gone, oh shit, this vehicle's only doing it. And one locked up, one went across the road. And I understand they want safety of the officer. Then you extend that to the tow truck people, and, like it's RACQ, the Motorists Association, they're the same. They're out there with their amber lights. But there needs to be some common sense. At least New South Wales recognised that and said if you're in a speed limit above 80, you must slow to a reasonable safe speed and or move over. And at one stage there, Luke, even if you had a service road, so you have a road running alongside the highway, you have the island down the middle, whether it's grass or whatever it is, even if that vehicle with the flashing lights was on the service road, you had to slow to 40. Now, that's just stupidity. And that's where the problem lies, when people make the law with the best of intent, don't talk to all of the people involved, and come up with this idea, let's just make everybody slow to 40. And, of course, if you're halfway around the corner or there's someone coming the other way, there have been accidents caused by it. I have heard a push that they are suggesting that South Australia come up to 40, the same as every other state. And I'm sure I mentioned to you at one stage, Luke, there was a lady bought a camper van. She was going to start off on a big trip around Australia. She drove through South Australia because she was Victorian licensed, hadn't been anywhere in her life, and she actually lost her licence because she drove past the vehicle and had to cancel her trip and everything. And look, that's road safety has to have an understanding that we're people, and when they come up with the idea, they just need to get better feedback to make sure that it does the job it's intended to do, instead of actually causing more accidents.
She could have been given a warning.
Yes.
I think that's unreasonable. I really do think that's unreasonable. Oh, dear. I mean, she'll never make that mistake again, but she didn't do anything deliberate. She wasn't breaking the speed limit as she saw it, and she's on a holiday. She lost the licence. Yep.
Sold the camper van and cancelled it and everything. And like you say, if they understood she'd come from another state, look, lady, this is the law here.
You've learned a lesson.
I'll give you a fine. Now, I'll give you a fine, for exceeding it by 10K or something. Now some blokes are good and some blokes are fair. And you can't imagine she would have got out storming. She would have got out, well, what's wrong, officer? What have I done? And goodness me, mate, we've all got grandparents and things like that where you'd like to think they get a fair go for something like that. But again, the law was black and white to them. No if but maybe.
That is, I think, wrong. What do you think? Give us a message, a voice message, or send me an email. Luke, was it? What am I? Luke Boner Radio. Luke Boner Radio Guy @gmail.com. We got a voice message from Tony. Let's have a listen.
G'day, Luke. Tony from Inglewood. Just listened to your latest podcast, and you were talking about roadhouses. I got to agree with Rod. The fact that you can get something as basic as rissoles with onion gravy and 3 veg instead of a bloody Big Mac or KFC, mate, that is so much better. But on the lighter side of things, with the increase of truck drivers from the subcontinent, do you think if they opened up these kitchens again, would we all be forced to eat curries? Just a thought. Anyway, but yeah, there's nothing like a meat and free veg feed just to keep you healthy. All right, mate, have a good one. If you can't be good at it. Don't get caught. Both to you and Rod, and I'm loving Kelsey's comments. It's all
Yeah,
good.
please
See
do.
ya.
Oh,
Bye.
no, leave that out. Leave that bit out, Kelsey. You don't need any more encouragement. I think that's a bit racially harsh.
Oh, look, it has happened, actually. And that's one of the things, mate, getting people into roadhouses. We spoke of people that have been in a roadhouse for 30 years and they're moving on. A lot of them have had either Indian people buy them, people from other subcontinent countries, and, of course, they then cook food that they're used to. So some of the surveys have actually changed to that. Some truckies have taken it on, mate, and some of it's bloody nice. Butter chicken, I think I had somewhere one night. So that was really good. But it's the ability to get the meal. Look, we're multicultural in Australia. We've got pizza, from Italy, and we've got pasta from Italy, and we've got all these other food dishes now
Chinese?
that we've never had before.
I tell you what.
Chinese.
I tell you what, if it was Chinese food, I wouldn't mind. Some sweet and sour pork, combination fried rice, chicken chow mein. Mate, bring that in.
There are some truckies I know that actually go to Chinese restaurants because they can't get a decent meal at a roadhouse or you can't park near one. And then we've still got some good roadhouses left, but they are diminishing. And the biggest thing is the change in either cooking hours or not having a chef or a short order cook there in place, which means that your options are really limited. And we discussed during COVID, Luke, like we had people that complied with every law they put in front of us to sit as a truckie in a roadhouse, and yet some roadhouses were threatened with $10,000 fines for feeding a truckie. And you imagine trying to eat your 3 bloody veggies and steak in a foam tray on your lap sitting in the truck.
No, you can't.
It's just ridiculous.
Okay. Now, on the subject of the best roadhouses, here's what some other people said. Caleb has said, the Tucker Wagon at Morelands South, located just near the M1 Pacific motorway on Jericho Road, Old Pacific Highway. Great home-cooked meals at good prices with exceptional service from staff along with good clean showers and amenities.
Absolutely agree with him. I've had tea at at Morelands there when you are travelling up the Pacific Highway. It's sort of just north of the 12-mile rest area. You do have to go off the highway to find it, Luke. At one stage, they were actually trying to put a B-double restriction and not allow us in there, but we got that one knocked on the head. So it's got to be mindful of the couple of residents that live around them, but had a good feed there and absolutely agree. That's one of the few good ones left.
Gary said Traviston Roadhouse, just before Gympie. Very good meals, B-double parks, and Matilda from 82 Commonwealth Games is there. You remember the big kangaroo that winked?
Yes, certainly do. Again, Traviston. Look, that was one of the ones. It's actually signed as a truck rest area. So it is a roadhouse, but it's got probably about 30 B-double parks. But again, Luke, in conversations with our mate on the Bruce Highway Committee and both the gentleman and the consultant working for them, I've mentioned that twice now I've pulled into Traviston. So if you're coming southbound from North Queensland, Central Queensland, you're getting pretty close to Brisbane. I've pulled in there twice to find it absolutely chock-a-block. Not a single place to park except at the Bowser, and I've had to drive on, and I've raised that with TMR. So whilst that was a really good addition, and generally they've got good food and things like that, it's simply the only one there, and there's not the capacity for the number of trucks on the road.
I've got another Luke here who says Tucker Wagon at Morelands and Wimpy's at Wodonga, by far the best on the East Coast. It's not so much the closure of roadhouses, but the change in ownership or management. Good roadhouses that always had good tucker and service have got new staff and management and are now awful to go to.
Yes, so we've got 2 votes there for the Tucker Wagon at Morelands.
And we've got another one, Barry.
And 2 votes for Wimpy's.
Yeah, Barry loves Wimpy's too. Cracker, he says.
It is, mate. The only trouble with Wimpy's is parking. It's a little bit difficult. It's an old site. It's sort of on a bit of an island of road between 2 roads, and it can be difficult to get a park because it is so popular.
I rang them on air once. I rang them.
Oh, okay, that's right, yeah.
I rang them.
Ages ago.
Yeah, wait, I remember now, yes.
I tell you what, we should get hold of the people at the Tucker Wagon or Wimpy's and see, if they can give us a bit of a thing from their point of view. Like, as he said, change in management in some places means a change in hours or a reduction in cooking. Those two have been there for many, many years. A lot of others have disappeared. I'm a really big fan of the Fisher Park truck stop coming out of Brisbane, which started this conversation about having Rissoles and that. And look, they look after truckies. If you get fuel there, when you get fuel, you are given a complimentary coffee or a toasted sandwich. And in days gone by, that was, the norm. You got fuel along the road. But now with corporate cards, things like that, sometimes the driver doesn't get to choose where he fuels. But then, of course, you've got to decide, well, if they don't have good food there, I've got to stop again. And it's simply life. We had a big discussion one night, I think, with Kelsey about that movie about Super Size Me. And look, fast food's fine if you're doing one trip with the kids. But if you're living in the truck for weeks on end, and I was talking to a driver, he hadn't been home for, I think, 5 or 6 weeks. So he's got to live on the road. He's got to buy food. Some have the opportunity to buy stuff and cook their own meals because they've got the little gas cooker or something like that set up on them. But it's the time to do that. Unless you're running to Perth or to Darwin, those blokes sort of a little bit more organised because they have to be, because there's not enough roadhouses on those long legs at times. But, mate, to survive on the road, you've got to be able to eat decently. And, of course, the other thing was back in the day, Luke, when blokes worked 20 hours a day and did over 100 hours a week, they had to eat big. Now, of course, we've got forklifts and things like that. Some blokes have kept eating the same way and finding good nutrition and snacks. And, of course, I'm sure you're going to tell me how good the Power Bee new snacks are, mate. So I'm going to have to get some of them and try, because even though when you buy what you think is, a snack, a muesli bar or something, a lot of them aren't really good for you either. They sort of keep you going, and they're better than eating lollies and chocolates perhaps. But finding one that's actually good for you is bloody hard work.
Folks, go to naturebee or powerpollen.com.au. These Power Bite bars, caramel, there's chocolate, they are crunchy. They have 5 grams of protein. There's Power Pollen in there as well. GMO-free. Really, really good stuff. Powerpollen.com.au. Get your Nature Bee, and also, I've got one right here. Get your Power Bite bar. Well done, Cookie. Rob, we're going to choose the winner for our Toots Book. We've got a Toots Book giveaway. Who do you want to give it to?
Oh, mate, I suppose our mate from Inglewood. He's been a pretty consistent caller. He's offered some good advice. So what's the man from Inglewood? Yeah, no, I think he's the winner there, mate, because he's certainly made the effort to call in and he's enjoying the show. So let's make him the winner.
So congratulations, and we've got more goodies to give away, but please contribute. Luke Boner, radioguy@gmail.com. Leave a voice message. If you want to talk to us during Truckie Tuesday, leave your contact details and the Millennial will hook you up. Okay, Rod, Let's cool off for a second and chat about the one thing that truckies complain about the most, getting a good night's sleep. I know you swear by ICEPACK.
Yes, they've been one of my supporters for many years, and I really think their product is terrific.
Let me tell the folks why. They were the first sleeper cab aircon on the market back in 1995.
Right.
They're Aussie-made, built tough, with a Kubota engine, and still the most trusted name out there. Doesn't matter if you're hauling local or interstate. ICEPACK keeps you sharp, safe, and really importantly, well-rested.
And mate, most important thing about ICEPACKs is they give you a set temperature the whole night.
They've thought of everything. Auto start to protect your battery, wireless remote you can use from 100 metres away, and on the ES model, a heater option for those frosty nights. And right now, if you're getting your install done in Brisbane, mention the code LUKE10, 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 and you'll still get their truck show special. 10% off any new install, plus a free auto start kit valued at $680. Limited time, and there's one per customer. Head to their website, icepack.com.au, to check out their models, their parts, and service agents right across Australia. That's why truckies trust ICEPACK, the toughest there is. Now, just some truckie news. Big Rig ran this article, and I find it fascinating. The top 5 benefits of heavy vehicle apprenticeships, Rod. 1, solve your driver shortage rather than consistently advertise. chase your tail to fill driver vacancies, create a pipeline of drivers, train the way you want, provide your drivers with a professional trade qualification. Provide your drivers with a professional trade qualification undertaking the Certificate 3 in driver operations under the apprenticeship model. Put money back into your business, enhancing your employer brand. Your thoughts?
Mate, it's something we've been asking for a long time. Some companies, and I honestly think now, so there's something that that's my question for this week, Luke. I'd like to hear from any company that has their own, whether it is called an apprenticeship or whether it is something where they simply take people in and train them. Now, having that qualification, as he said there was a big push ages ago to do Cert 3. Of course, you can go on and do Cert 4 and you can become a driver trainer, things like that. Having someone with that knowledge and skill in your company, once you get them in, well, then technically you've got someone who can teach them. If you're going to have something recognised, it can't just really be another driver who teaches them because he's acting as a trainer, so they've got to be qualified. But, mate, if we don't get young people in, if we don't get them before they leave school, and that's the problem. We've got to make them aware of the opportunities in the industry. And it's not just truck driver, it's forklift driver, it's mechanics, it's people operating in the logistics chain. So fleet allocators, all of those people as well, their jobs in the industry, and we need them all. Truck drivers prevalent, that's what we're sort of focusing on. And if we don't get that system up and running across Australia, we are going to run out of truck drivers. So I want to hear from any company that has their own. Are they moving over to the apprenticeship? Are they going to structure it that way? And how have they found it? Because all of the points raised there are valuable. But if you can't get people in the door and then train them to your standard, train them, give them all the stuff they need. If you just have someone walking off the street, can you drive? Yeah, mate, I've driven for the last 175 years. I've done 27 million kilometres. I've been everywhere, man. Unless you go out and test them, that can lead you unstuck. So really good idea. We've just got to structure it properly, and we want to hear from people that do it on their own now.
Whatever happened to Lucky Star?
Yes. And dear old Nev Nichols. There was a couple, eh?
I've been everywhere, man. Legendary Victorian operator Warwick Doolan, I don't know if you know him, is calling for urgent reforms to the oversize, overmass permit system. He's warning it's strangling the sector and causing costly ripple effects all the way through the supply chain. Doolan's heavy haulage has a fleet of nearly 80 big rigs working out of depots in WA, Victoria, Tassie, and on some of Australia's biggest and priciest infrastructure projects. Doolan is 77, and he says he's at his wits' end over the red tape.
Yes. Now, the article that I read says the main problem, and yes, there's been delays in some of these permits for some time, but they've started something new. So do you know who the ARTC is, Luke?
The Australian Road Transport... No, what?
No, the Australian Rail Track Corporation.
Yeah, that was my next one.
In the past, of course it was. So in the past, if you wanted to get a permit to cart a 100-tonne piece of machinery from here to there, you had some permits issued by the Australian Rail Track Corporation to cross rail crossings. Now, yes, there's one delay getting a permit from a council because you want to drive through Coorparoo with your wide load. But now, in the past, you could get an ongoing permit from ARTC to cross the railway crossing at parks or wherever it might be. Now, it says that there has been a perceived lack of accountability and compliance, and I'd like to know where this perceived thing came from. But because of that perceived lack of compliance, the NHVR has said, we will not issue you a permit to travel where you have to cross a railway line unless you have a physical permission from the ARTC to cross the railway line. Now, that never happened before. And if you can imagine, Luke, it's not just one load here and there a week. It might be 100 loads a week crossing in one state, let alone 7 states. And they have to apply, they have to get all the route permits, they have to do all of that. And now on top of that, they have said, well, we won't give you the permit unless you've got proof from the ARTC they'll let you over. And, of course, the ARTC's gone, what the hell? We've just got thousands of applications. Now, they brought it in. They're the ones that want you to apply. They haven't been set up for it because in the past you haven't had to apply individually for each one. And now they don't have the staff for it. So at this stage, there's an enormous backlog. NHVR saying they're offering to help, but they've created the problem by virtually putting in another level of compliance above it. And then, look, to be fair, Luke, most of the rail lines, like they're just sitting there. They're not as though you're going over a bridge. Now, if you want to pull 150 tonne over a bridge somewhere and the bridge is rated at 100 tonne, you don't want the bridge falling down. But the railway lines are there. They're part of the road, and yet the ARTC control that section of road. We've had so much trouble in the past, Luke. They'll go out and resurface a highway, but then the ARTC won't let them do certain things, or they won't let certain combinations. We've even got a problem with someone like that in Dubbo at the moment who won't listen to reason. So that's where some of that frustration's come from. They say that they're going to do something about it, and, mate, at this stage, we're chasing Paul Salvati from the NHVR. He's tied up for a month or so. We'll come back to you with a time for him to come on the radio. I've asked whether he'll ask some questions, answer some questions. We'll get an answer to that soon. But we need them to recognise they've created the problem. And again, it says perceived non-compliance. Well, I'd like to know where that came from, because I haven't seen any rail lines just disappear into the dirt ever. So why they brought it in, I really don't know. And, of course, it's the heavy haulage people that are suffering from it.
Another interesting point I read on Big Rig, and we'll try and get through this as quickly as we can, but they're all really good points. It's the 10-point test all new truck drivers should have to pass. So we'll try and get through this, Rod. Number one, what is the most important driver's aid in the cab of a heavy vehicle that has the potential to save your life? Should you know how to use it? When and where do you find it?
Yes, and I see it does refer to other things. So quickly go through the list, Luke. We'll cover them off even. So go through the list quickly.
Drivers must be taught and able to use mental arithmetic without the aid of electronics within 5 seconds before committing to overtake another heavy vehicle. They must understand time, distances and speed.
You don't want them certainly sitting there getting their calculator out.
So you need to know your lengths and your speeds.
And speed perception, yes.
A driver of multi-trailer combinations should never swerve or brake to avoid animals or objects on the highway.
Yes, we have discussed that.
A learner should know what the 4 different types of fatigue are.
Yes.
And how to understand and respond to each one of them.
And, mate, they're all good points. And you and I have discussed that virtually when you get your licence, they don't teach you any of those things. So that needs to be included in the licensing process. Again, mate, I did see that New South Wales has withdrawn accreditation from some driver trainers. There was also a piece in there about a gentleman in Queensland who has concerns about some of the driver trainers and some of the assessors up there. And, of course, the TMR in Queensland says, no, it's all good. We've got it covered. We see what happens on the road when people are given a licence, and that means that they can go out on the highway. Now, this is not about being racist, about people with different coloured skin. I said to you before, I don't care whether people come from Alaska or Antarctica. All I want is them to be tested and trained to a suitable level. Now, we've discussed car drivers don't get trained properly. They're taught to pass the test. Same thing happens, unfortunately, in the industry. And, of course, in the past you had a graduated system, which, again, they brought in with the best of intent. They want people to get experience in smaller trucks, work their way up to bigger ones. The trouble with the law is that you get that licence, you pass that for your medium rigid, you hold it for 12 months. You don't even have to sit in a truck in the 12 months. Then you can go for the next one. And what we seek, and what most of the driver trainers I speak to say, there should be a competency-based system. Not I've held it for 12 months, so I'm going for my next one. but I'm capable. You can see that I have knowledge and skills. I can operate that vehicle safely on the road, and you can get it faster. And you work in, let's say you live in Quilpie, Luke. Now, there's not a lot of businesses in Quilpie. There's a couple of trucking companies. There's other things. But if you get a company to take you on, righto, we've got this new apprenticeship scheme. We're going to take Fred on. He's a new young bloke. We're going to get him in. But, of course, there's only a number of trucks. They're not there all the time. They're out operating away. How does he get that level of skill unless he spends time in the truck with somebody else? But then you're paying two people to do one job. So there are some things in the way, but we must get drivers involved. We must educate them and train them to be safe on the road. And then instead of going out and learning by mistake, and it's one thing if you sort of get out of bed and you make sure you put your foot round the right way so you don't kick the post under the bed, you learn by that mistake. It's another thing, and I've just looked at a post here a minute ago, mate, where somebody saw someone pull up the side of the road. The load had moved. It's hanging out the side of the curtain. So a bloke's pulled up and he said, "You got a problem, mate?" Yeah. What's wrong? Or I'm not real sure. There's an issue. It's moved. Now, this bloke went out of his way. He actually rearranged the load. He got his four-wheel drive, pulled it all straight, and the bloke said, "Look, we asked the forkie," and the forkie said, "Throw a couple of straps over it and hook in." Now, they didn't have enough straps. They didn't have it secured. Had they gone round a really sharp corner, that whole load could have come out of the side of the trailer.
Wow.
This bloke helped them and guided them. They said, "Thank you very much." And again, in the past, you either ask. If you don't know, you ask. And most blokes will offer to help you. But if you just take it in good faith and then you go down the road and that load falls off and God forbid, it falls in front of a car or kills somebody or something like that goes wrong, well, then, of course, you're in jail, mate. You're going to jail for manslaughter simply because you didn't know and nobody taught you, and none of us wants that to happen.
Well, I think you've encompassed all 10 points in that rant, and well done. Get to know your truck, know how to do everything. And these should all be part of the qualifications before you let loose behind a steering wheel. Well done. Rod, we are coming to the end of today's Truckie Tuesday. Your question again. Do you or have you ever worked for a company that has their own apprenticeship? How did it work? What were the terms and conditions? Are there many trucking companies out there that actually run their own apprenticeships? That's your question?
It certainly is, mate, yes. And whether they've gone over and they're going to structure it to join as part of that apprenticeship program, there are ones in currently Queensland, Victoria and Western Australia. They've had pilot programs. If you've been through one of those programs in those states, did it work? Did it give you what you needed? Or, of course, if your company's had one, how was that structured? Did it give you all the knowledge that you need? Because if we don't give people the knowledge, then they don't have the skills, and then something goes wrong on the road. And it's, again, perception, Luke. People see us being pulled over by the coppers. They see a big blitz. They've just had one virtually throughout New South Wales in the last week. And people look at it, and you could have been a perfect driver for 12 months. You could have been pulled in for a random check, and they look at your logbook and they say, "Gee, you've done a good job. Yeah, that's tidy. There's nothing here. Off you drive, mate, and have a good day." And yet the public see us being pulled over by them. "Oh, you must all be doing the wrong thing, and the wheels are falling off and you haven't slept for days." And that perception comes from when people see the one thing go wrong. As we've discussed, Luke, 99%, and maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but 99% of blokes go out to do the right thing to get home safely every day. They know what they're doing. They're professional. They operate that way on the road because they have to. They have to do the right thing. Yes, 1% make mistakes. 1% are idiots and probably shouldn't be driving a wheelbarrow. And the same thing applies whether you're driving a car or a truck or a taxi, whatever it might be. But when they make a mistake, all of us are perceived to be the same. And that's unfair the way we're treated. But, geez, mate, how we would ever get the public back to that level of support from Razorback is something that you and I are working on, and we're probably going to have to do a lot bigger job, mate.
We'll get there. We will get there. And that brings us to the end of today's Truckie Tuesday. And the Truckie Tuesday segment would not be possible without our sponsor, ICEPACK, the original Aussie sleeper cab aircon, trusted for over 30 years and the toughest there is. For a limited time in Brisbane, if you're a Brizzy trucker, you're going to get 10% off a new install, plus a free auto start kit. Rod, this is worth $680. But you've got to use the code Luke10, Luke10, and there is one per customer. So hit up icepack.com.au or check the link in the description. And Rod, you love them. You've been associated with them for how long?
Mate, probably for 15 years or more now. They started out as a very small operation. They saw a need in the market. In the old days, of course, air conditioning meant you wound the window down. Trucks did progress from there. We ended up with, air conditioning systems like in the car. But when you live in the truck for 6 days a week, and the only option you had was open the door and hope you didn't get eaten by mozzies, or you ran the truck all night, and that's not good for the trucks at all. So they looked at how they could make that safer and better for the driver. So they designed the original ICEPACK. It's an external diesel-powered air conditioning system. They even have heaters in them now, mate. Mine's got a heater in it. And they came up with this idea that if you could mount that on the truck, provide that air conditioning, the driver will get better sleep. Now, in WA, my understanding is above the Tropic of Capricorn, you're supposed to have an auxiliary cooling system for the truck because it gets hot and humid over there. There are some trucks that have evaporative systems, but they're no good where it's really humid because, of course, they use water. So ICEPACK sort of provides white noise in one way. Years ago, you'd pull up in a truck stop, the bloke beside you'd pull up with his fridge motor, and it would go and cut in and out and wake you up. Stock crate pulls up on the other side, they're going to wake you up. ICEPACK gives that noise. But the other thing is, I've often seen blokes in the early days with them on in the cool temperatures, and I used to think, geez, it's bloody cool outside. Why would you run the ICEPACK? But, mate, what it does, it gives you one set temperature all night. So instead of waking up when it gets hot or cold and pulling the blanket on or throwing it off, it's one temperature all night. You get good sleep. You get up fit and ready to go to work. And look, in the past, you'd pull up, you'd try and get sleep. You couldn't. You still had to go. Now you've got an ICEPACK there. Many fleets have them as standard fitment for drivers. They buy them when the truck is first delivered. And, mate, I've got to say, not only do they do it for the safety of drivers, that's their original driving force. We want to help drivers get good sleep.
We love them. ICEPACK. Hit them up. icepack.com.au. Remember that special deal for our Brizzy listeners. 10% off a new install plus a free auto start kit. Now, that's worth $680. You get all of that with your 10% off, but you have to use the code Luke10, Luke10, and there's one per customer. Rod Hannafy, always good to talk. Talk soon.
Safe travelling to all, Luke. Take care, mate.
So thank you so much. Episode 57 done and dusted. We need your input. If there's somebody you'd like us to talk to, let us know. Luke Boner, radioguy@gmail.com. The Millennial will keep you updated with the latest. Plenty of stuff to see on our Facebook page, Luke Boner, that radio guy. And please, if you can, leave a voice message because we love you all.
And what's your thought of the day, Luke?
Not really a thought. It's just an observation. Did you hear? We need to talk to Shane Adam Bassett about this at some point. I heard that Disney are actually thinking about making a movie about transgender whales.
What's it called?
Maybe Dick. Goodbye.